Glen Powell certainly lives in the thriller genre these days. How to Make a Killing isn't the most original thriller you'll ever see, but thanks to Glen Powell, a great supporting cast, and a strong ending, in my opinion, it still might be worth the ride. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Troy. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review How to Make a Killing, the latest from A24, directed by John Patton Ford, starring Glen Powell, Margaret Qualley, Jessica Henwick, Topher Grace, Ed Harris. A really fun cast overall. But again, this movie maybe is a little forgettable, but I think overall it has enough to enjoy from it. It's a solid thriller that I ultimately like, but it's definitely not one that reinvents the drama. It's one of those movies where I think the ending does play a huge role in how you feel walking away, and thankfully for me, I think it really does stick the landing. This movie does feel really familiar along the way. Like I said, there's nothing really special about it. It's not unique in its story. This has been a story that's been told, I think, in different ways over the years from different films. In this movie, Glen Powell plays a son of a woman who is the heir to this big fortune of this very wealthy family. She's kind of cast out from having a baby at 18, and he doesn't know his family, and he kind of makes it his revenge almost to take them out one by one so that he becomes first in line for this inheritance. I think this isn't the most creative and compelling story in this specific genre. It does lack originality again, but I think there is just enough here in the performances and again that ending, which we'll get to in a moment, that just make this, I think, good overall. I did like this movie. Glen Powell is a lot of fun to watch. I think he's really honed his craft in these thriller roles. He's done a really, I think, good job over the last couple of years in this sort of role. And he's no different here. He's really solid. He's really fun. I think he does a good job selling kind of the emotional aspects of this story too, right? His mom is a really, grounding driving force for him and why he's doing what he's doing. And you do feel a lot of the tension along the way as he develops a relationship, with family that he's never met before, and how that complicates things. And I think he did a really good job of creating that tension of the character in his overall goal in this movie, and some of the hiccups and speed bumps along the way that prevent him from making that goal. He really does understand exactly what this movie needs from him and carries the emotional and narrative weight throughout. And without his performance, I really don't think this movie is nearly as enjoyable as I found it to be. But the supporting cast is also really strong here. It was a really pleasant surprise for me. Margaret Qualley really does match Glen Powell beat for beat here. They play childhood friends, and they have this really unique way of bringing that together. I think that was one of the strengths of this movie, was tying their characters' backstories together from childhood, friends, lovers, to the present when they're much older. And so I think she did a really good job. She does play a big factor in this movie. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but I think she, for what her role is, was really enjoyable overall. I think for me, those Zach Woods and Topher Grace were standouts, especially on the comedic side of things. Zach Woods is hilarious. I love him and everything that he does, and he's no different here. He really does eat it up as this cousin of his that has this eccentric side to him. He's just really funny. And Topher Grace too really kind of eats it up as this kind of fraudulent televangelist sort of character, and he just has a lot of fun with the role. And even though their appearances are a little bit more on the brief side of things, for what they do, it's really fun. I think brought a nice change of pace to the overall story, and I think it just worked really well. Jessica Henwick as Ruth was really fun too. I think that her and Glen Powell had really good chemistry throughout this movie, and you really, again, feel some of those emotional weight at times with their character, and to the story beat that prevents him from, achieving this end goal that he has of being first in line to the heir of this inheritance. And so she was really good, really solid. And again, I think they utilized her in a lot of good ways. However, my biggest issue with this movie is simply that it doesn't feel very original. You can see where things are going. It follows a lot of familiar thriller conventions, and there just aren't a lot of moments that are really going to surprise you and keep you on the edge of your seat. Again, I think they lean into the character performances and the change up there to kind of keep you invested, which does work overall most of the time, but just the lack of originality was a little bit of a struggle for me. Honestly, if I didn't like this ending as much as I did, I don't think I would have enjoyed this movie. And so I think how you walk away from this movie definitely will impact how you feel about the movie overall. If you enjoy the ending, I think that you're going to like this movie. If you're not really a fan of it, I don't think you're going to like this movie at all. I think that really shows why the reactions to this seem to be kind of mixed so far. This definitely feels like a one and done watch for me, not because it's bad, but because once you know how everything plays out, there's just not really anything pulling you back in for another viewing. And so I think that also hurts the film a lot is that it's a good movie that I just won't see again. It's a movie I like that I'm just not going to see again because once you know how it ends, it kind of takes out the any sort of engagement that you might have leading up to that point. So overall, How to Make a Killing isn't a thriller that will redefine the genre, but thanks to Glen Powell and a supporting cast that brings real personality to the film, it does enough to make the journey worthwhile. It may not be unforgettable, but it's definitely entertaining most of the time. And so for a rating for me, I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, the ending really pushed it above that kind of middle ground for me as I did really like it quite a bit. And so 3.5 out of 5, like I said, not my favorite film of the year. Certainly not a bad movie. I've seen worse so far this year. But overall, I think if you go into this and you just enjoy the thriller genre in general, I think that you'll like this movie for the most part. If you saw How to Make a Killing this weekend, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you like about the movie? How did you feel about how it ended? Keep the spoilers light in case people haven't seen the movie yet. But if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to see the future stuff, and thanks for tuning in.